New Zealanders travelling overseas will have to be prepared as more countries introduce electronic travel authorisation, ETAs, similar to the States' ESTA system. It is nothing new for those that have travelled to the US, but the UK introduced its ETA in January, and almost 30 European countries will be next to ask travellers to fill out an online application for an ETA from next year. And while it's not a visa, it's another admin step to remember or forget, depending on how busy you are when you're getting your trip together. The Passport Index has been ranking the strength of each country's travel documents for a decade now. And as a country, we sit in sixth place above Australia and the UK. The visa waivers are being put in place to tighten up security so checks can be run before travellers check in. Aviation commentator Irene King forecasts chaos when the European change comes in and says it amounts to a non-tariff barrier. And she joins me now. Irene, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are we allowed to, though, because I know you've been out of the country, Irene. You've been in fantastic Nepal and India.
That's true.
Can we ask what you've been doing, or is it a little hush-hush? I don't know.
No, it's fine. We've been looking at suitable candidates to come and join the flying schools for training purposes.
Excellent.
So, the market over there is booming, and I think we saw about 450 to 500 students who are looking at study overseas. Don't worry, they're not all coming to the flying school. That's not the goal, but we're looking for a particular market segment which is high quality and has got the funding and finance to support themselves while they're here for about 2 years.
Brilliant. Because what is the situation with our pilots? I've actually never thought about that, Irene. Do we have a high turnout here? Do we have is it like a doctor's, is it like a course? How long does it take to become a pilot?
Okay. First of all, we deliver an international qualification. It's a license, but in terms of the education framework, it's called a diploma. And it's ranked globally, much like our passport, up there, as a high quality course. So we typically attract somewhere between 10, 15, 20 foreign students into the school this year.
Okay. Right.
The potential for growth is about 40. I mean, it's just phenomenal demand. New Zealand is right up there competing for the opportunities.
I like that. It's excellent. Well, good. It was a good trip then. Had you been to Nepal before?
No. A
Oh,
very
nice.
interesting country, and didn't see much. It was very smoggy and quite cold, but
They were working.
lovely people, and I met a number of gorgeous potential students who, they're just so enthusiastic to have this opportunity before them. Very, very positive, because it breaks them out of a very poor society, and becoming a pilot opens up international opportunities for them.
Yeah. Gosh, if I wasn't scared of flying, Irene, I would have been a pilot. But there you go. Let's go back. Sorry, I know you were talking about ETAs. Let's look at these electronic travel authorisations. Any new system will take a while to bed in, but how significant do you think the impact on these new ETAs will be on our travellers, on New Zealand travellers?
Oh, I think for the older generation, people who are not used to using mobile phones, it can be quite scary, and quite frankly, you forget about it. Like, I forgot that I had to do one to come into New Zealand until they reminded me on the aircraft.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is we still have a mix of paper and electronic, so you just don't know what you're going to encounter at the border.
Yeah. From an aviation industry perspective, what challenges besides that do you see new travel requirements for airlines and airports? Is it up to them to be telling, to be reminding us? Who pushes this?
So essentially it's the airlines that have to remind travellers that they must either fill in the forms or fill in the electronic version of it. But it is challenging, and with any change, unless it's well articulated, you get very, very mixed messages. And, like I got to the border in India, and I thought, yes, I've got all my visas, all my electronic visas and, entry. But no, there was another form that was produced that you had to fill in. And
Right.
so there's a lack of consistency as to what they're after as well. And so you're never quite certain, like New Zealand's quite intensive on biosecurity,
Yes.
but the rest of the world don't actually care that much,
Yeah.
So there's got to be,
Yeah.
we do, I mean, New Zealand does do a good job in promoting it, we're very sensitive in biosecurity matters, but it's just that, all of these promotions are done in English, and let's face it, about 50 to 60% of the travellers, English is not their first language. And
Interesting,
you can imagine filling in forms and, getting to the border and, what is this all about? Now, theoretically, it should work very well. Practically, it takes a long time to bed in. And, yeah, I know even when the States bought theirs in, it must be at least 14 or 15 years ago, the queues at the border were just phenomenal because people simply didn't know what was required.
No, good point. Are you concerned about the information that will be required for flyers to give? Is that a concern? And then where it's stored? There's always an issue about storage of all our info. Yeah.
Absolutely. On the paper-based system, you used to wonder what they did with
all that.
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you wonder, well, if it's electronic, well, where do they store it? How secure is it? They ask for a lot of information. Like I think it was about 2.5 pages of information. And you think, well, gosh, I guess the passport is the biggest issue. You're having to electronically declare your passport. Now, you would think that you've already done this multiple times. You do it to your travel agent, you do it to the airlines.
Yeah.
Now you have to do it. So there's only one passport, but there's 3 or 4 declarations. And you think, well, how secure is this information? And you really do not want to lose your passport or your identity when you're overseas. That's about the only thing that, causes, you to be back on the surface of the earth when you're away
as
in
your
some
passport.
of these countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irene, the cost of the ETA is about $22, I think. But if you're also coming into New Zealand, you've got the $100 visitor levy, so $122. You've said that some countries seem to be enjoying a new revenue stream with no oversight. Can you elaborate?
Oh, absolutely. Look, you have to pay a heap more money, and for example, in Nepal, you have to pay for a visa at the border. Now, it's about it's about $34 US. Now, what do you get? Yes, you get the right to enter the country, but there's no safety or security attached to that particular visa. And to me, it's just like, well, it's a good money gathering opportunity. It's foreign travellers, they want to come here, so let's just sting them. And every country is doing it, and it's making the cost of travel really, really significant. Imagine if you've got a family and you're travelling around. It mounts up every time you cross the border. And the thing I think that annoys me the most is you get nothing in return. It's not like it's value adding in any way to your experience or your enjoyment. Now, the tourist levy that's imposed, arguably that money is used to improve the quality of the experience.
Yeah, and
so,
goes towards our tourism. So,
Yeah. So I think people are not so surprised about those things. But with visas, there is nothing no apparent reason, because the airlines have always controlled the entry and the exit. And it's the airlines who say, well, you can fly or you can't fly. And admittedly, that's based on whether you've got entry rights or not. But we've always had that system, and that's about internal security. It's not about your personal security. It's about internal security of the state. And to me, that's just a government function.
Yeah, so it's a privilege of travel, I gather, is what they'll say it is, isn't it, Irene? It's, it's the privilege to travel. You pay for it.
Yes, but the security of a nation is the responsibility of the government. And it's not my personal responsibility to ensure that terrorists don't enter a particular country. And that's the problem, I think, with all of these electronic visas. And it's much easier when you have an electronic system to also require payment of a heap of money. Whereas with the paper-based, it was a bit more difficult, although I have to say in Nepal they do it very efficiently, sometimes with guns sitting there, people with guns standing there, but they do it efficiently. But you still, has the visa system prevented any terrorist attacks? And I guess, if that's what it's there for, you have to say that it's not, it's kind of an average type barrier.